Criminals and ne'er-do-well people of Reddit, what were some crimes you committed that made you think, even if for a moment, that something supernatural or paranormal was going on? I don't know about crime, but I was once doing about 85 on a barren backcountry road in an old Cadillac when the interior lights suddenly came on and turned off again. I slowed down to check for an open door when I came around a turn and found a broken down car in the middle of the lane with the lights off. Swerving in a 77 Cadillac is no mean feat, and had I not slowed down, I would have never had time to avoid a collision. Both doors were in fact closed, and it never happened again. Over a couple of weeks one summer, me and some friends, all middle school, grade 7 and 8, snuck into a nearby school at night and just fucked around, nothing damaging. Ate candy out of desks, ate ice cream out of the teacher's lounge, wrote notes to teachers and hid them in desks. The first night we went in, I was going to go into the library, had the door open, but a friend said, "No, don't." He claimed it wasn't him who said it though, so we didn't go in. After that night, the library doors were locked, so we couldn't go in even though we wanted to. Then one night, about 9 days later, our entrance, the rooftop hatch, was locked, and we couldn't get in anymore. The very next night, some guys got busted after climbing in through the library windows. It seems they had motion detectors inside the library, pointing away from the door we would have entered into the main area, connected to a silent alarm. We would have been busted if not for whoever said those words. Me and my crime partner did a lot of stuff, burglaries, robberies, thefts, etc. for like 5 years. We were both Orthodox Christians, so once in a while we would go to church. Anyway, we're walking up the stairs and I see people entering the church. The second we try to open the door, it's locked. Tourists around us were taking pictures and we were the only ones trying to get in. We walk away 20 meters and see people walking in there. Guess God didn't want us in that day. This is something I'll never forget. So I used to work as a security guard at a large office building. I often stole things like computers, desks, chairs, etc. from the offices. I was very careful and never took anything during my shift. There were only cameras in the lobby and on the outside of the building, not in any tenant spaces. One day, I found a wallet in a desk and it had a few $100s. I took the money and left the wallet. I wasn't on that night. No one saw me enter or leave the building, and I wasn't on camera. A few weeks later, a lady I'd never seen before came up to the security desk and told me that she saw me take the money and even knew the exact amount. She said that she just wanted me to know that she knew. Then she left and I never saw her again. There is just no possible way she could have seen me. I am a pretty talented pickpocket, slight kleptomania. Lifted a wallet from a man as I came up behind him on the street. Almost zero contact. No one should have noticed a thing, but the man spoke out very calmly as I passed him. "Could I have that back, please?" Turned around to see he was wearing sunglasses. He lifted them up and revealed that he was blind. I was so completely dumbstruck and baffled that I apologized and gave him back the wallet. Wasn't too worried about him picking me out of a lineup anyways, and didn't want to be that guy that steals from the handicapped. I guess his sense of touch was sharpened by the loss of sight or something like that, but for a brief second I was sure this man was a warlock. This one night, I was boosting some silverware from this old lady's house. She was home, but old people are pretty deaf and damn slow, so I didn't give a shit. I hear this strange sound coming from the room where she's watching TV. Volume way loud, Grandma. So I go look and see she's having a seizure or some shit. I might be a thief, but I'm not a bastard, so I call 911. They answer. Shit, I don't know what to say. "Hi, I was just robbing this old lady's house and she's having a seizure." So I freeze and say nothing. I wait with her, but she stops seizing and then I hear sirens. So I hide in her tiny front hall closet with the foldy doors and shutters. Before the EMTs arrive, she stops seizing. So by the time they get to her door, she seems fine, except confused why they're at her house. They make nice, apologize, and leave. As soon as they're gone, she starts seizing again. Fuck. So I call 911 again just in case. Really don't want a dead lady on my conscience. Same thing. Sirens. She stops seizing, answers the door. It's like a comedy at this point with me hiding in the closet, the bad guy with a heart of gold, but I'm not about to pop out and say, "But she was having a seizure," so they leave. Just as they drive away, with her waving an old lady goodbye, she falls down and starts seizing again. Now it's just sad or funny. Gotta call 911 again for Grandma, but this time I'm thinking about leaving a note or something, because I do want to get the fuck out of here. I call, wait for the sirens. Then she stops breathing. Fuck. I'm thinking if I don't get the fuck out of here, murder charge. I hide as the EMTs come through the door, put an oxygen mask on her and take her away. By this point, my adrenaline is through the roof and fuck it all. I feel like I've earned the right to take as much stuff as I can, walk out the door with, and since the house is now empty, I can take my time going through her stuff. Silverware, jewelry, cash in a shoebox, you name it. If I can find it, it's mine. A fee for being a good Samaritan. Fuck, if the EMT doesn't come back, who the fuck knows why? I hide again. He walks into the living room, turns the TV off, and grabs a bag off her chair. This is the part that fucks me up. As he turns to go, an old man just appears out of fucking nowhere, pats him on the back, and whispers something to him. But the EMT doesn't react at all, doesn't turn around, doesn't pause, just heads back out the door like the old man isn't even there. Then the old guy glides to the front window and stands there, waving goodbye. Then he disappeared. I'm standing in the closet, frozen, wondering what the fuck just happened, and when I feel it, somebody's breathing down my neck. Get out of my house. I started running, praying, crying, right out the fucking front door. I didn't care who saw. I ran like a bitch. To this day, whenever someone says scared straight, I try not to remember the sound of that old man's voice, but I always do. A while ago, I worked as a curtain repairman and was hired to fix a set of upstairs drapes for an older couple. What they didn't tell me was that at the same time I was scheduled to come by, they would be out of town and have a house sitter who they didn't inform of my presence. I parked my truck around back and went upstairs as they instructed me to, getting right to work. Next thing I know, a bunch of cops pull up to the house. I figure something must have happened in the neighborhood, and I go back out to my truck right as they send 2 canines inside. Good thing I left. Once they're done investigating, I return to the house to finish my job and start measuring the curtains. And they're all out in the front yard staring at my window. Nosy people. I ignored them, repaired the curtains, packed everything up, and left. Some people just don't appreciate the trades. When I was 14, 33 now, I used to boost cars for this car theft ring in California. I did it for several months and never got caught. It was more of a thrill and lack of direction from living in a bad area and lack of supervision and authority in my life. I had never been arrested or got caught. I was always a good kid, but I rebelled after my parents split up. Anyways, there was one car that I needed to pick up and get delivered that day. The boss man was extremely insistent that the order needed to be filled within a few hours. It was another job like any other. But when I was about a mile away from my order, I got a very uneasy and disturbing feeling. Nothing was out of the ordinary or different from the dozens of other jobs I'd done, but I couldn't shake the feeling. As I got closer to my destination, it was as if it just got noisier and more distracting in my head. Finally, that unsettling feeling overcame me and I bailed out. I saw the car and acted like I wasn't paying attention. I didn't do the job. I kept going and knew I was in deep shit with the boss guy. I decided to lay low because not filling an order was seriously bad news. That guy was not someone you disappointed or you would feel it. He was wrathful and on drugs, so I knew I had to hide for a while. 2 days of him blowing up my pager, yeah, that's how long ago it was, LOL. Then the calls and pages suddenly stopped. Come to find out, word on the street was that the cops pulled a big sting operation and that car I was supposed to steal was being monitored. My old boss sent some other kid to get the car and they followed the kid back to the scrapyard and did a big bust. That guy got arrested, that kid got arrested, a whole boatload of people got pinched, but no one ever came for me. To this day, I know God was looking out for me, at that moment, at that time, and I listened. Since that incident, I never pulled any shit again. I straightened up, got back into school, and graduated with honors. It was all because of that weird, supernatural moment. So listen, I was in grad school and staying in this kind of shared house situation with multiple other people in the house with me. I'd been working with organic proteins late night in the lab using this big container of cow's blood, and I was pretty exhausted. Term paper due dates coming up, you know? I guess I must have slipped the package of cow's blood into my backpack on accident because when I got home, I tripped a little coming into my house and it broke open, spilling cow's blood all over the inside of my bag and the floor of the hallway. I ran to the kitchen to try and pour what was caught in my bag back into the container, but ended up spilling even more of the blood on the kitchen floor. Exhausted and defeated, I walked upstairs, still trailing blood, showered, and passed the fuck out. Eventually, the police showed up. I guess one of my roommates woke up early, saw the blood, and assumed the worst, and I didn't want to get in trouble for stealing from my uni's lab, so I denied everything. One day, I went to rob the house of an old lady. Got to the door, thought it was my lucky day. It was unlocked. So I quietly made my way to the living room and almost shit my pants. The old lady was sitting in silence, staring at some unknown presence in the garden, not moving at all. I didn't want to be ghost food, so I left, and now I only rob young ladies. Changed my life, man. I suppose I broke into this one abandoned house once. It sat on the edge of the block and was behind a tall white wall, so you only saw what the yard looked like once you climbed over. Old shopping carts, toys, old doghouse, kinda dreary. Door of the house had boards on it, so I had to pry those off with a crowbar. Once on the inside, everything was black. It looked like the entire inside had been coated in soot, from the ceiling to the bathtub to the windows, just all black. Thought that was weird. Anyway, I spent a whole week there in the darkest point of winter, and I'm sure there was more than one reason I never got a night's sleep. I live in a pre-Civil War town just down the street from an old museum. Well, what most people don't know is that nobody ever bothered to put a lock on the side door leading into the pantry or kitchen. That place has some of the best colonial pastries and meat pies in the South. I haven't bought groceries in probably 30 years because they always have a fully stocked kitchen. I have to be careful though. Sometimes my rooting is interrupted by a nosy neighbor calling the cops while I'm busy stuffing treats into my pantaloons. I have to book it out of there and never have time to close the cabinets. Damn it. When I was a kid, I lived in a little hamlet next to a camping area. Right at the opposite side of the camping area was a rather large, seemingly abandoned house. At the time, I was kind of into urban exploring, but I wasn't at the point where I'd break into buildings just in case maybe it was just a poorly maintained building with inactive occupants or squatted by questionable people. So I wandered on the property for a bit, climbed trees near the house and look at the building, wondering about its story. I'm on the biggest tree on the property, against a wall overlooking the camping area, when one of the windows on the 3rd floor suddenly explodes. There was no warning. I hadn't seen any lights or movement in the house. I don't remember hearing an impact sound or anything, just straight up loud shatter noise and the window being completely gone. After a couple of seconds, I heard gravel moving behind me in the camping side, so I turn around and see 2 guys inching towards me. They notice that I've seen them, and one of them yells to someone else to call the cops while they grab me. I jump off the tree and made a dash through the forest surrounding my hamlet, the camping site, and the abandoned house before making a loop around my hamlet and hiding between houses to lose them. I don't really think it's supernatural per se, but I still can't exactly think of a reason why the whole window would just blow up. If the guys behind me had thrown a rock in my direction, missed me, and ended up hitting the window, I feel like I'd have heard some of that and only one of the window panels would have shattered, not the whole window. Back in high school, a group of friends and I would break into recently built houses in our subdivision and use it for small parties or smoking before school. Anyways, one morning I was inside smoking a bowl before my bus arrived and heard something that sounded like an older lady in one of the front rooms say, "You better get out of here." I was alone in the house and it was maybe 7:30 a.m. Being the little rebel I was and legitimately confused as to who would be in the house so early, I went and checked the rooms. Of course, there wasn't anyone inside, and I never went back to that particular house. I've lived in the same subdivision for years, and multiple families have moved in just to move out months or even weeks later. Criminal here. Partner and I were scouting out a house to rob. Elderly guy. Nobody had seen him in a few days. Mail overflowing in mailbox, missed a doctor's appointment, car hasn't moved, etc. We both know we are about to find a body or empty house which could easily rob. We arrive on scene, look through the window, and sure enough, we see his foot on the floor in the living room. My partner is a seasoned robber and pulls rank and makes me go first. Doors unlock, and as soon as we open it, we smell a mostly fresh dead body. Almost relieved, we both enter and he tells me to check vitals on dead dude. He's obviously dead, with lividity, dried feces on him, and dried saliva around his mouth. So I go to stand over him and see if I can get a pulse, at which point he takes a deep breath, rolls over, and asks why we are in his house. At this point, we both start screaming, "Oh shits," and "what the fucks," as we both run out of the house. I only managed to grab a silver spoon. I think he died a week later in the hospital. I still get jokes about raising the dead.